Hey yo, it's your boy J-Dog back with another video. In today's video, we're gonna be watching a girl's whose rotting body was discovered in a hotel water tank. So obviously, I just watched Zach D films like I do every day, almost every day. And then I found that story out, so I was like, why not I find more information about this? And we're going to be reacting to it. And this is by Anna Solves. If you want to know more conspiracy theories like this, go subscribe to her. Anyways, before we get in the video, I want you guys to subscribe to my channel as well. And turn those post notifications on. And you guys are welcome to comment, whatever. So, yeah, let's go.
Can you imagine your daughter suddenly disappearing, reporting this to the police the next day, and only finding her rotting body 3 weeks later? This is the tragic story of Elise Lam and her family, who 9 years later still can't find justice for their daughter. Elise Lam was a Chinese-Canadian student who was visiting
Is there
Los
such thing as
Angeles
Chinese-Canadian?
when something really odd happened to her inside the Cecil Hotel. To this day, the police reports remain ambivalent, and it is still unclear how Elisa died and who killed her. It's a tragic story which deserves to be further explored. That being said, let's dive in. Elise Lam was an only child and a quiet girl who was interested in fashion and literature. Her parents had come from Hong Kong, but she was born in Vancouver, Canada. Her parents opened up an Asian restaurant in Vancouver,
Is that why she's
then helped
Chinese
to keep
Canadian?
up the popular Chinese restaurant, Paul's. As a teenager, Elisa was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression. Bipolar disorder manifests itself as depression, alternating with moments of abnormally elevated mood, called mania. She had a long list of prescription meds she had to take, but she lived a peaceful life with her family, and she was never violent, nor did she attempt to take her own life. In 2010, 19-year-old Elisa started recording her struggles with mental illness alongside pictures of models. She had a blog named Ether Fields on Blogspot, and she kept it running for 2 years. One of her entries just said, "I spent about 2 days in bed hating myself." Many of Elisa's entries revolved around her depression. She was critical of herself for not running, for overeating, and for making excuses to do so. In a January 2012 blog post, Elisa wrote that a relapse at the start of the current school term forced her to drop several classes, leaving her feeling so utterly directionless and lost. She titled her post, "You're always haunted by the idea you're wasting your life," after a quotation from the novelist Chuck Palahniuk. Elisa also used that disturbing quote as an epigraph for her blog. She worried that her transcript would look suspicious with so many withdrawals, and that it would result in her being unable to continue her studies and attend graduate school. A little over 2 years after Elisa had started blogging, she announced that she would be abandoning her blog for another
Alyssa? I thought her name was
this
Elise.
time on Tumblr, called Nouvelle Nuovo. Its content mostly consisted of fashion photos, quotes, and a few posts in Elisa's own words. She used the same quote.
You called her
as
Alyssa and then...
but we must remember Elisa as a human, not a diagnosis. She was a smart girl who studied at the University of British Columbia and who had dreams of her future. Tragically, none of these dreams happened. In January 2013, she went traveling to the States, and her family never saw her again.
Here we go.
On December 21st, 2012, Elisa wrote about her plans to travel to Los Angeles and visit a school in Santa Clara, where she wanted to get transferred. She even posted her itinerary on Tumblr and called out to any people who wanted to meet while she was on the road. On January 9th, 2013, Elisa posted that she had created a new Facebook page for the 5th time because of paranoia. She added that this is the start of her depression and that she feels very low. On January 22nd, Elisa arrived in San Diego via Amtrak and inner-city buses, after getting lost in an airport and missing her flight. Throughout the following days, Elisa visited the San Diego Zoo and posted pictures she'd taken there on her Tumblr. She also wrote a post saying, "Every now and..."
Why do you go from Elise to Alyssa? Like, who are we talking about? I'm sure we're talking about Elise, but you keep saying Alyssa. So you're making it sound like, are you talking about two different people or the same person? I don't know, because you're making no sense about that.
Then I do something entirely impulsive and reckless, like tell a guy I just met I like him. On January 26th, Elisa arrived in LA, On the first night, she wrote on her Tumblr that she went out with some friends to a speakeasy. On the 28th, she checked into the Cecil Hotel, rebranded as Stay on Main. The Cecil Hotel was an affordable hotel in downtown LA, which has a huge homelessness problem. While some floors were for visitors like Elisa, others were for short or long-term accommodation for people who lived in this Skid Row area. Before Elisa's tragedy, the hotel already had a bad reputation. It was a place with a history of suicides, overdoses, and a place where several high-profile serial killers had stayed. It was even the inspiration for American Horror Story Hotel, which starred Lady Gaga as a vampire living in a penthouse. Alyssa first checked into a shared room,
this is a
but 2 days
dangerous
later,
hotel?
her roommates complained about her odd behavior, and the hotel manager had moved her to the 5th floor, a room she would have all to herself. On February 1st, Alyssa was supposed to check out of the Cecil and head to Santa Cruz for the last leg of her journey. But Alyssa never checked out. Something horrible happened to her, and the full reality of it is still unknown. When Alyssa left Canada, her parents established a rule that they would speak on the phone every day. Although she lost her phone once, Alyssa did speak to them every day until February 1st. That day, Mr. and Mrs. Lam flew to LA and filed a missing persons report with the LAPD. The police looked for hundreds of clues throughout the next few days, but they were grasping at straws. The last person who saw Alyssa was Katie Orphan, a bookstore manager who described Alyssa as very lively, very friendly, as she was buying gifts for back home. The police searched all the rooms they could search. As Sergeant Rudy Lopez explained, they could only search a room if they had probable cause to believe a crime had been committed. After desperately searching for clues and finding nothing, LAPD went public on February 6th and invited everyone to be on the lookout for Alyssa, as well as come forward with any useful information. Another dreadful week followed, with Alyssa's parents getting more worried every minute, and with the police getting desperate for results. On February 14th, the police found a huge breakthrough to the case, a really strange security camera footage from the Cecil Hotel elevator. The video immediately got worldwide attention. On the Chinese platform, Youku, it got 3 million views and 40,000 comments in just 10 days. Many people found it too unsettling to watch to the end. The footage shows Alyssa in a very agitated state, going in and out of a seemingly broken elevator. Was she having a bipolar episode? Had she forgotten to take her meds? Was she running away from someone? The police were at a loss as to how this footage could connect to her disappearance, but they knew something was off. However, it wasn't until February 19th that they could close the case.
It's just weird, like
It was February 19th, and a hotel worker was
she
notified
clicked the hotel
of
button.
strange-smelling water and low-pressure faucets.
Okay, so here is the deal about this. Okay. So, it's weird because she was in the elevator and she was clicked all of the elevator buttons, and then she would leave the elevator, go back in there, and just it went on and on. So she went in there, and then she got out of the elevator, and then went back in, and then it just went back and forth. That is so weird. It's just really weird.
He went to the hotel rooftop and checked the water tanks. Inside was the floating, naked body of Alyssa Lam. On the 21st,
She was
coroner
naked?
released a report saying that Alyssa drowned by accident and that this was the water tanks. Inside was the floating, naked body of Alyssa Lam. On the 21st, the coroner released strange-smelling water and low-pressure faucets. So he went to the hotel rooftop. It was February 19th, and a hotel worker was notified of strange-smelling water and low-pressure faucets. So he went to the hotel rooftop and checked the water tanks. Inside was the floating, naked body of Alyssa Lam. On the 21st, strange-smelling water and low-pressure faucets. So he went to the hotel rooftop and checked the water tanks. Inside was the floating, naked body of Elise Lam. On the
You're telling me
21st,
she
the
got
coroner
naked
released
before
a
she got
report
in the...
saying that Elise drowned by accident, and that this was mostly because
Then where
of
did
her
her clothes
bipolar
go?
disorder. However, by now the case had gained worldwide attention, and many people were not pleased with the coroner's report, simply not believing that Alyssa had drowned by accident in a huge water tank on top of the hotel. First of all, Cecil's hotel guests didn't have access to the hotel's rooftop. The doors and stairs that access the hotel's roof are locked, with only staff having the passcodes and keys, and any attempt to force them open would have triggered an alarm. So, unless someone took Alyssa to the rooftop, she couldn't have gotten there herself. And if someone did show her the way, it means she did not drown accidentally. Then, there's the issue of the CCTV elevator footage, which fueled hundreds, if not thousands, of discussions on the internet. Apart from the very disturbing sight of Alyssa apparently talking to herself and being very agitated, many of the video's viewers argued that a whole minute is missing from the footage, which means someone must have tampered with it to hide evidence. However, as the resolution is very low, it is impossible to prove if the minute is missing or not. Then there were claims that someone purposefully pixelated Alyssa's mouth in the footage so that they could hide something she was saying. But then again, these claims were never addressed by the police. Then came the claims of supernatural forces possessing Alyssa's body. But to make these claims is to ignore Cecil Hotel's horrifying history. In 1985, serial killer Richard Ramirez stayed at the Cecil Hotel and took the lives of 13 women. In 1991, Jack Unterweger was arrested as a homicide suspect, also inside the Cecil Hotel. There were numerous cases of guests taking their own lives in the hotel rooms too, many of these people being from Skid Row, who had given up on their hopes and dreams.
Dude, this hotel is
probably that even though Cecil
creepy.
Hotel has a long history
Like,
of
that
death
hotel
and
is
murder, none of it can be
evil.
linked
They
to
do a lot of
Alyssa
evil
in order
things.
to uncover the mystery of her death. As drowning by herself in a water tank on a rooftop she didn't have access to sounds pretty implausible, a theory that ran amongst most of the people following her case was as follows. Alyssa was followed by a stalker through the hotel, murdered, then dragged to the rooftop so that her killer could dispose of the body in a place where no one would look, the water tank. Throughout her old Tumblr posts, Alyssa expressed her fear that her outspoken nature would get her into trouble, writing, "My mouth will be my downfall, and it will get me into trouble." Once she wrote, "I'm going out tonight. I really hope no creeper comes near me." It would thus seem likely that Alyssa got into a fight with someone at the hotel, and they decided to come after her in the most horrible way. However, there is a lot of evidence against a murder theory. First of all, there were no signs of struggle or harm on Alyssa's body. Second of all, none of her objects were missing, so there was no attempted robbery. And lastly, LAPD searched all the CCTV footage inside the Cecil Hotel and found no one else around Alyssa around the time of the elevator footage. The hotel staff were also asked whether they had seen Alyssa with anyone during the days she spent there, but no one saw anything significant or any argument that would point towards a murder. Knowing Alyssa's bipolar diagnosis, the police concluded that she was the master of her own demise. But something still did not add up for the people following the case or for her family.
Not over.
In June 2013, the chief LA coroner released a full toxicology report for Alyssa's body, revealing that she didn't have any drugs in her system, apart from the prescription drugs she was supposed to take. However, the report contradicts itself a few times. In the preface, the coroner writes that the evidence is limited, as there wasn't a big enough blood sample provided. Then it says the police ruled out foul play. At the same time, it writes, "A full review of the circumstances of the case do not support intent to harm oneself. The manner of death is classified as an accident." So, if Alyssa did not take her own life and no one else killed her, then how did she accidentally climb into a massive cylinder tank of water, which had no fixed access to it, lift a very heavy lid, and fall into it? Even if the lid was open, getting on top of the tank was extremely hard from many points of view, including access to the rooftop. So, ruling Alyssa's death as an accident sounds far-fetched, to say the least. In September 2013, Alyssa's parents filed a wrongful death suit, saying the hotel failed to inspect and seek out hazards in the hotel that presented an unreasonable risk of danger to Alyssa and other hotel guests. They asked for damages and burial costs.
I don't know.
But the Cecil Hotel argued it could not have reasonably foreseen that Alyssa might have entered the water tanks, since it remained unknown how she got to the water tank. No liability could be assigned for failing to prevent it. In 2015, the suit was dismissed. This is pretty outrageous, considering the hotel kind of is responsible for whatever happened inside it. Lastly, several people following Alyssa's case noticed something truly bizarre: an uncanny similarity between the case and the 2005 horror film Dark Water. In the film, a mother and daughter move into a rundown apartment building. A dysfunctional elevator and discolored water gushing from the building's faucets eventually lead them to the building's rooftop water tank, where they discover the body of a girl who had been reporting missing from the building a year earlier. Anyone who has seen this movie might wonder if Alyssa herself had seen it, or if whoever took her to the rooftop wanted to recreate a horrifying scene. One last detail points, perhaps, to the police closing Alyssa's case. In the coroner's report, it says that Alyssa had traces of antidepressants in her system. These are the meds she had been taking for years, but the anxiety stoppers and mood stabilizers were missing. This means Alyssa hadn't taken all of her meds for a day or two. In the case of bipolar disorder, not taking these meds can result in a serious psychotic episode. These can include hallucinations, which can make people do extreme things to avoid what they think is happening to them. One psychiatrist describes a patient having a bipolar psychotic episode as disorganized but looking focused, with pacing and moving hands erratically as consequences of the hallucinations. Looking at the CCTV elevator footage with that in mind, one can see Alyssa looking focused while also moving in a disorganized way and waving her hands in the air inexplicably. In the last few years, an anonymous source came forward to the police and spoke about one of their relatives who was also suffering from bipolar disorder, who took his own life by jumping into a pool. They added that this man was always drawn towards water during his psychotic episodes, that somehow water seemed to calm him. There isn't any evidence yet connecting bipolar disorder to water in any way, but this uncanny case could explain Alyssa's tragic end if Alyssa was looking for water in the same way during one of her episodes. It's yet unclear just how Alyssa got to the hotel's rooftop, or if the hotel's security was indeed that good and the rooftop was inaccessible. The hotel might have been covering themselves against a lawsuit by saying Alyssa couldn't have gone upstairs without a key or passcode. No matter the case, Alyssa's life was cut short in the most tragic way, and the mysterious circumstances surrounding her death mean that her family
died
would never
naked
get the closure
in
they
there.
deserve. Thanks for watching, you guys. If you liked this video, make sure to watch the next story, which will totally give you shivers down the spine.
Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. We might react to another one of Elisa later today, because I still want to find out, like, if there's even a video of them finding her. Like, I want to know. I want to know. So, I'm going to make another Elise video with this same girl. I want to find out more information. So, I'll see you later, guys. Peace.